At this time, I'm going to get ready for Now We Paint. Welcome to Now We Paint, the part of the show where I have to work very hard, especially to create a good painting. You know, I'm planning to do some detail work, and that's why I worked up my beautiful, colorful palettes in advance. But I just have this wild idea. This painting, if you really want to know my opinion, is in a little bit of trouble. And I want to try a radical thing, which is more of the rubbing, which was stage 2 originally. But I want to rub a little red onto the clouds to make some definition and some excitement. This is a color, it's a special rose. I can't even pronounce it, and I didn't bring the tube, but it's a very special rose color that has a beautiful transparency to it. And it's actually what I use always for the underpainting of my paintings, both acrylics and oil. I'll mix a little of this rose color with black, and it makes a beautiful color that looks black in the outline, but yet when you shade it, it turns a rosy color. So you see how I'm shading the mountains to give the painting a little more excitement? Then I'll come in with the brush, try to help some of these little people out. Now, some of these people were left plain after the last show. I'm going to try to liven them up with some shading. Shade the sheep. I've spoken before about how many biblical figures were shepherds. There's something special about tending sheep. And of course, when the Israelites traveled out of Egypt on their way to the Promised Land, they traveled with flocks and they traveled with cattle. This is a pretty simple painting, but often I paint the same subject, showing huge herds of these animals. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I try to create beauty. And to me, the ancient costumes they must have worn must have been so beautiful. The next color is a variation. It's not quite that same rose color. It's a red violet, which I also adore. And it's going to go on dark, and you'll see it'll shade to a very pretty pastel. Now, I do this work at my studio gallery on Robertson Boulevard in Los Angeles, which is open to the public. So people are welcome to come down and view the works in progress, as well as the works that are still available. But a lot of the ones you've seen on Fine Art for All are gone, sold in people's homes, like Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. As my granddaughter Melody says, you'll never see it again. And also David and Abigail, which was another new one that I debuted on the TV show, and that lives in a lovely home. should say my 2-year-old granddaughter, Melody, is quite verbal. I saw a TV show. It was a news item, and it was about how kids who have had cancer in their childhood and now they're growing up, but guess what? They have huge problems. And that struck such a chord. It's been a big part of my life. I have a child who had cancer when she was 2 and has survived all this long time against all odds. I think she would be a big story on her own. You gotta know the use of the Tehillim of King David when you're in the hospital with somebody and they're gasping for breath, like in the ICU. Then it's time to get out the Tehillim, the Psalms of David, and you will find that they work wonders. I wonder if you people in TV land know that there are many sort of documented miracles where people have gotten together in large groups and said these Psalms, these Tehillim, for somebody in grave danger and made miracles happen. But survival is beautiful, and people say, how come you're so cheerful when your kid's paralyzed and just losing her last eye? Well, down to one eye and can't move a muscle but blinks this one last eye. But it's so positive that she survived. It's awesome. It's better than the alternative. And she's very alert, and she enjoys many things like music, videos, mommy's visits. Someday I'll bring in some artwork, because she lives in a very beautiful facility with roses next to a park with beautiful fish, carp. So I'm sharing with you some of the artist's life. A friend was asking me to run a workshop, and I told her, lady, these paintings that I make, they take a lot of work. So you combine that with my daughter and my granddaughter, my other daughter, not so much time left over. I'd like a time cue to know how much more I can paint and still get my fabulous outro to play. Can you ask for a time cue? To go? To go in the whole show, including my outro? Great. Because I want to do something with these deer that I did in such a hurry. I'm ashamed of them. So let's make them pretty. I'm sure I've mentioned before how deer are a metaphor for the Jewish people, and how just like the skin of the deer is taut because it's holding in all this flesh, just like that, the land of Israel will always expand like the skin of the deer.